My name's Colleen and I'm an educator at the St. Louis Art Museum. Welcome to Wednesday. Today we're going to be talking about transformations. A transformation is a dramatic change. When you make art, you transform materials into something completely new, or when you wear a costume, you transform your appearance into something different. So we'll explore some of those ideas together. We'll start by reading a story together, then we'll be looking at some art from the museum's collection, and we'll end by making our own art together. Feel free to pause the video at any time if you'd like to get a closer look, if you'd like to talk about something with the people that you're with, or if you need to gather some art supplies. Are you ready? Let's get started. Today, we're going to be reading a story called Maybe Something Beautiful: How Art Transformed a Neighborhood. If you've joined me for Wednesday before, you may know that when I read a new book, I like to take a look at the cover to see if I can find out some things about the story before I read. Let's take a look at this cover together. What do you notice? I see a few different clues on this cover. I see a child here, and they look happy because they have a smile. So I think maybe they might be happy. And it looks like they have a paintbrush in their hand. And I see lots of other colorful objects around them, like a butterfly, a sun, an umbrella. And I noticed some buildings off here to the side. What do you think the story might be about based on what we can see? Let's find out. Maybe Something Beautiful: How Art Transformed a Neighborhood by F. Isabel Campoy and Teresa Howell, illustrated by Rafael Lopez. In the heart of a gray city, there lived a girl who loved to doodle, draw, color, and paint. Every time she saw a blank piece of paper, Mira thought to herself, maybe. And because of this, her room was filled with color and her heart was filled with joy. What do you like to create? On her way to school one day, Mira gave a round apple to Mr. Henry, the owner of the shop down the street. She gave a flower to Ms. Lopez, the lady with the sparkling eyes. She gave a songbird to Mr. Sachs and a red heart to the policeman who walked up and down the streets. On her way home, Mira taped a glowing sun onto the wall, hiding in the shadows. Her city was less gray, but not much. The next day, Mira saw a man with a pocket full of paintbrushes. He gazed at the wall. He looked at her son. He held his fingers up in a square and peered through them. He said thoughtfully. What do you see? Mira asked. Maybe something beautiful, the man replied. Let's try that together. You can put each of your hands in the shape of an L, and then we'll flip them and put them together, and we have a nice rectangle to look through. Let's look through our rectangle just like the man did in the story. What do you see? Let's keep going. Then, just like that, he dipped a brush in the paint. Bam! Pow! The shadows scurried away. Sky blue cut through the gloom. The man's laughter was like a rainbow spreading across the sky. Sometimes when I'm reading a story, I like to predict what's going to happen on the next page based on what we've already read. What do you think is going to happen next in the story? Let's see. Who are you? Mira asked. I'm an artist, he said. A muralist. I paint on walls. I'm an artist too, she told him. He handed Mira a brush. Then come on. Mira dipped it in the loudest color she saw. Yow-wee! The wall lit up like sunshine. Have you ever seen a mural in your community? A mural is a painting on a wall. As the man drew pictures on the bricks, Mira added color, punch, and pizzazz. Soon, Mr. Sachs joined in. Then came others. Everyone painted to the rhythm. Salsa, merengue, bebop. I think we might need some music for the rest of our story. Ready? That's much better. Do you like to listen to music while you're making art? What kind of music do you like to listen to? Even Mira's mama painted and danced to the cha-cha-cha. The whole neighborhood became a giant block party until... Let's see what happens. The policeman walked up. Excuse me, he said. The music stopped. Mira put her brush down. They were surely in trouble. The officer cleared his throat, then paused. May I paint with you? He asked. So Mira handed him a paintbrush, and the music started again. Teachers and papas jumped in, babies too. Mira and the man handed out brush after brush. Color spread throughout the streets. So did joy. Where do you see color in the neighborhood? Looks like they added it and transformed their neighborhood in many different places. These flower boxes, planted new plants, painted on walls. Wherever Mira and the man went, art followed like the string of a kite. After they colored the walls, they painted utility boxes and benches. They decorated sidewalks with poetry and shine, and everyone danced. Together, they created something more beautiful than they had ever imagined. When their clothes were splattered with a million colors, everyone sat down to rest, except the muralist. His eyes sparkled. You, my friends, are all artists, he told them. The world is your canvas. He smiled wide, then pulled everything together in big, sweeping motions. His paintbrush was like a magic wand. When he was finished, Mira added one more bird way up in the sky. Maybe, she thought, just maybe. Now, there's a note from the authors here in the back of the story. And this story is actually based on a true story of two artists named Raphael and Candace. And they painted murals and sidewalks and flower boxes and lots of other things in their community in San Diego, California. And they created the Urban Arts Trail. And so there's some pictures here of the art that you can see in real life in that neighborhood. You can see people working. Which is pretty cool. The end. I invite you to think about your favorite part of the story and talk about that with the people that you're with. We're going to travel to the museum now to look at some works of art. Let's imagine how we might get there. Since we're talking about transformations today, let's imagine transforming one of our ordinary modes of transportation into something beautiful. So imagine you're going to take a bus, but now it has murals all over the side and the seats are a rainbow of colors. Or are you going to ride your bike, but your bike can paint as the wheels spin round and round, and so you're painting all along the sidewalk. Or are you going to walk, but you're going to take a sidewalk that's painted with beautiful designs and colors? You decide. Once you've decided, if you'd like, you can close your eyes and imagine yourself going. Ooh, that was a really beautiful artistic journey today. I'm really glad that we made it. In order to get ready to look at our works of art, we're going to be doing an experience I'm calling our Mindfulness Minute. Mindfulness is taking the time to slow down and really pay attention to what you're doing. We're going to need a tool today to help us be mindful. So you're going to need a piece of paper. It can be any size, shape, color. It can have writing on it. Your recycling bin is a great place to look for this piece of paper. So if you'd like, you can pause the video while you go get your piece of paper. And to begin, we're going to get into a comfortable position. And we're going to start by taking a big deep breath in through our nose and out through our mouths. Let's try that again, but this time let's go a little bit slower. Ready? In through your nose, out through your mouth. Great job. Now, we're going to take our piece of paper that we set aside, and since we're talking about transformations today, we're going to think about transforming our regular piece of paper into something extraordinary. So let's take a piece of paper and just think about, how does it feel when it's in your hands? Is it smooth and glossy? Is it rough? Is it light? Or do you have a heavy piece of paper? What does it sound like when you move it around in your hands? What do you notice? Now let's think about all the different ways that we could transform this piece of paper. We can rip paper. What did you think about that sound? How did that make you feel to rip the paper? We can crumple paper. And think about how that feels, what sounds you hear. We can fold paper in lots of different ways. We can form paper around another object. So I have a block here. You can think about what happens when you form it around a new object. So transform your paper in a way that feels right to you in this moment. How did it feel to transform your paper? Think about the way the paper feels and the sounds that it makes while you're transforming it. Now, it doesn't matter what you ended up making in the end. What matters is that you took an ordinary object and you transformed it into something new and different. I feel much more ready to look at some really amazing works of art. We're going to look at some works of art from the museum's collection together. If you'd like, you can scroll down on the page to get a closer look at the images we'll be viewing. Feel free to pause the video at any time to do this. Take a close look at this work of art. What do you see? Let's zoom in to get a closer look. What new details can you see now? This is a sculpture by an artist named Andy Goldsworthy. It's called Stone Sea. It was made just 6 years ago and might be a little older or younger than you are now. There are 25 arches that are each about 10 feet high. That's as tall as a basketball hoop. Imagine standing among the arches. How would you feel? This sculpture is made of limestone, which is a type of rock. Limestone forms the bedrock, or the rock that is beneath things like soil, in St. Louis where this sculpture lives. Andy Goldsworthy was inspired by this material, transforming it into the sculpture that you see here. What ordinary object could you use to transform into something magnificent? Let's see how another artist transformed a space using art. We're going to start by looking at this work of art from up close first. What do you notice? Let's zoom out to get a different perspective. What do you see now? Let's zoom out one last time to get the full view of this work of art. What did you discover? This is a mural fragment by a Teotihuacan artist from Mexico. It was made over 1,500 years ago. We learned from the story that we read together that a mural is a painting on a wall. This is a piece of a mural that would have been located in a room in one of the city's large apartments. Let's imagine zooming out even further and completing the rest of the mural in our minds. What else do you think you would see based on the piece that we have here? Large works of art can completely transform a space. How could you transform a space in your home or neighborhood with art? If you'd like, think about dreaming up your own transformative work of art with the people that you're with. Now that we looked at some art together, let's travel back home so we can make our own art. So hop in your mural-covered bus, or get painting with those wheels on your bike, or walk down that beautiful design-covered sidewalk, and let's head home. For our art making project today, we are going to be making our own murals using a paper bag. So we've seen how different artists have transformed spaces using their art. We're going to transform this paper bag into a large space for us to create our own scene that can be hung up somewhere in your home or in your community. So you can create a realistic scene that depicts something in real life, or you can create an abstract scene that focuses on lines, shapes, and colors. Murals show all different kinds of designs and scenes, and sometimes they're used to share a message. So we're going to need a few different materials for our art making today. First, we're going to need a paper bag, and this is just a grocery bag. So you can use any kind of brown paper grocery bag that you have in your home. One of the bigger ones is great because then you'll have more space to work on, but if you just have a small one, that's fine too. Then we're going to need some other kinds of paper to create our designs with. So I have some colored paper here. I have some other paper from magazines and catalogs and other treasure mail or junk mail that I found in my recycling bin that I can cut up. We're going to need scissors, glue or tape, and then some kind of drawing material. So I'm going to use markers today, but you could use colored pencils or crayons or anything that you have around your home works. So to start, we're going to need to make our paper bag into our large mural space. So I'm going to set all these things aside so that you can see a little bit better. And you might notice that I'm working on the floor today. Since we're working in kind of a larger scale today, I needed some more room to do my art making project. So I recommend that you get to a place where you can really spread out to do this project. So if that's a big table that you have, or if you're working on the ground, whatever works. So we have our paper bag here, and to make our large space that we can create our mural on, we're going to need to cut it up. And you can start on any of the folds. So this is just one of the folds of the opening of the bag. I'm just going to cut down along the side here. So now I've cut down one of the sides of my bag. then if you just pop it open so you can see the bottom of it. Now I'm going to cut along the bottom of the bag. And I'm just going to keep doing that, cutting along the bottom of the bag. And that's going to create our large piece of paper that we can create our mural on. More sides to go. And you might need a grown-up help to do this. Alright, last piece. Cool. So now I essentially just cut off the bottom part of the bag, and you can save this to use it in your mural or just add it back to your making art stuff pile, which I recommend that everyone starts, kind of all these little bits and pieces of paper that you can use later. So now I have my nice large sheet to create my mural on, and you can decide which side you want to do. So if your bag has, you know, designs or logos on it, you can do it on the other side, or you can do it on that side. It doesn't really matter. That's your choice. So I might put mine on the back because I see it kind of has some writing on it. So I'm going to flip it around. And I notice this even has a staple in it. So you might want to just, you know, kind of check your bag over and see, just to make sure that you're using the side that you want to have your design on. So now I have my nice big piece of paper to work on, and this is going to be our mural size. So now it's really up to you what you decide to make. I was really inspired by the story that we read and how colorful a lot of those murals were. So I definitely decided I wanted to make my mural as colorful as I could. And I'm thinking I just might use different designs and shapes. But you can make your mural however you want. And you can even kind of get inspired by murals that you might see in your own community. That can be a fun thing to do, to take a walk and see if you can see any murals. Sometimes murals are all kind of in a particular part of a neighborhood, or sometimes they just kind of appear. So you never know where you might find one. And there are always new ones that are being created. So I'm just going to kind of cut out different kinds of shapes. And the fun thing about doing this project is that you can work a little bit bigger than maybe you normally would. So sometimes when we're working on just a small piece of paper, we can't really use up, like I just created a bunch of shapes just from cutting out that one thing, and I might use all of them. And this is a great project to use up those treasure mail items that you might have. So those catalogs that come in that nobody wants, or mail that you don't need anymore, all of those things can be great to kind of cut up and create different designs with. So like this, you wouldn't have even known that there were plates and spoons and things like that on there. It just kind of looks like a different pattern. And remember, the best materials to use for this project are the ones that you already have. So don't worry about what you have. You can make a large work of art with any kind of paper that you have around your home. And we're talking about transformations today, so that's the really exciting part, is kind of transforming everyday things, or even things that you might throw away like trash, and creating them into something really beautiful and unique. So I'm just kind of cutting out different shapes and patterns and kind of arranging them. You can think about arranging and then gluing as you go, or you can kind of arrange and then glue at the end. That's up to you. And another thing that muralists often do is they're thinking about sending a message, since murals are often in public places. So if there's a message that you'd like to send to your community or to your family, if you're gonna post this in your home, you can think about what kind of message you might want to send. just got a lot of pieces, and you can see I'm kind of just layering and ripping things. I might use my scissors again. So I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use my glue stick, and I'm going to glue a bunch of these pieces of paper down. Okay, so I glued down all my pieces, and you might need to check it kind of as you go. Sometimes when you're working on grocery bags like this, things might take a little more glue than normal, or a little more tape than normal if you're using tape. So I've got all my pieces glued down. Now what you can do is, once you've kind of done some collaging or cutting and pasting and putting them together, you can do some drawing on top of that to add to your mural. You don't have to, or you can just do drawing. Remember, it's your choice, you're the artist. So I thought I might do some drawing with markers in addition to my other kind of designs that I made, and I wanted to keep this kind of abstract, or just think about designs and lines and shapes and just kind of creating something colorful that could add to a space that maybe wasn't very colorful. Okay, so I did some more kind of lines and designs on my mural. And the last thing you can do before you finish up is you can see if your mural does the shake test. So since you might be hanging this up somewhere, we want to make sure that everything is really well attached. So the shake test is really simple to pass. All you have to do is just shake your work hard, make sure that nothing falls off. And if it doesn't, you passed. And if you didn't pass, that's okay. That just means you need to reattach whatever it was that was falling off or falling down with some more glue and tape, and then your artwork will be all nice and secure for wherever you want to hang it up. So that is going to be our paper bag murals. Thank you for joining me today here at We Wednesday. We hope you had fun. I wanted to show you another example of a paper bag mural that I made. So this is the one that we made together. This is my large mural made with different colored paper, recycled paper that I cut up and glued, and then did some drawing on top of my paper bag that we kind of made even bigger. So that's that one. And I made another paper bag mural using a different paper bag. And this paper bag wasn't in the best shape. It had some rips and kind of some other areas that I didn't like as much. So once I extended it, like how we did together, I decided to cut kind of the parts out that I didn't like as much, and it kind of created this new shape. And I was inspired by the shape that it made. It kind of made me think of a cloud, so I decided to do kind of a sky scene with the rest of the space for my mural. So there's so many different ways to make murals, and you can make them about so many different kinds of topics or designs or scenes or anything else that you can dream up and transform your paper bag into your mural. So we would love to see your murals. You can share them with us on social media and use the hashtag STLArtMuseum and We Wednesday. We hope to see you next time. Keep on creating. Bye.